Alright, so this video was going to be about, good God, I don't even know how much longer. But I decided to be responsible, cut it down a little bit. And by cut it down, I mean instead of talking about all of my Japanese movies, I'm just going to focus on the kaiju and horror movies that I have, especially since, the new Godzilla movie, well, the new American Godzilla movie came out this week. And so I figure, all right, I'll talk Godzilla. And then I was like, okay, I'll talk kaiju too. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk horror in general. So I'm kind of going to have a whole spectrum. Less of a spectrum than I was going to originally have, because that would have been too much. But I am probably going to do like separate videos on like samurai movies, crime movies, all that stuff, anime, whatever. Just kind of break it up so I'm not dropping it in one giant chunk like I was originally doing, because yeah, the stack was kind of nuts. So without further ado, let's start with some kaiju. New Godzilla versus, or no, it's not versus Kong. It's Godzilla and Kong, New Empire, or Kong and Godzilla, whatever. That's out now, and obviously Godzilla Minus One came out earlier in the year, won an Oscar, well deservedly, because that movie was incredible. So hey, Godzilla, he's in everybody's minds right now, looming in your mind, because he's so big. So I figure let's start by talking about Godzilla. 1954, the classic. The original, Godzilla. This is the Criterion release. This movie rules. I mean, straight up, Godzilla is a fantastic film. It's got a lot to say. Godzilla's a villain. He's destroying stuff, destroying the city. It's just him. There's no other monsters in this one. Highly recommend it. Godzilla's great. But, say you watch Godzilla and you want more. Well, if you want to shell out for it, you can get the Criterion Godzilla Showa era movies. Oh, I guess I should mention Godzilla films are broken into like a few eras. There's like the Showa era, which is the early Godzilla movies. Then in the 80s through the 90s, it's the Heisei era. And then after that, I think it's the Millennium era. Not 100% on that. But yeah, so if somebody says Showa or Heisei or whatever, that's what they mean. It's just a time frame. So this includes a couple of movies. So I will go through this. Ugh. Or I'll attempt to, at least, because it's a big boy. Bum, bum, bum. Ugh. Come on. Let me just get to the movies. Okay. So, we've got Godzilla. Again, the classic. You know it. You love it. Then, we got Godzilla Raids again. This introduces Anguirus, who's that guy. He's like kind of like an Ankylosaurus, and in this one, Godzilla's not really like very quick. Godzilla stops being the straight up villain, although he does go back every now and then to take on a more villainous role in various movies. But at least for kind of the rest of the Showa era, Godzilla is a straight up hero. So then the third movie in the franchise, we got a little bit of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Yeah, it didn't happen for the first time like 10 years ago. Not 10 years ago. What am I even talking about? It's late. I'm tired. This week has been insane. King Kong vs. Godzilla, the American one, how it came out, 3 years ago, if that? Anyway, this is the third Godzilla movie. He fights King Kong. And King Kong has electric powers for some reason. You know, why not? Then, hey, it's Mothra versus Godzilla. Big ol' moth. Everybody likes that. We got Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. You know, everybody knows Ghidorah, or you should. There's a picture of him. He's gold, 3 heads, wings, flies around, shoots lightning out of his mouth. We got, next up, Invasion of the Astro Monster. Then there is Ibira, Horror of the Deep. It's a giant lobster. Kind of fun. Got Son of Godzilla. Got Destroy All Monsters, which has a lot of monsters in it, if you can't tell from that art. There's All Monsters Attack, which also has a lot of monsters in it. This was my favorite when I was a kid. Godzilla vs. Hedorah. I think the one that I always watched when I was a kid was just called Godzilla vs. the Smog Monster. Pretty awesome. Also a very insane movie. Just visually. Very psychedelic. Then there's Godzilla vs. Gigan. Gigan is one of my favorite kaiju designs. He's got a buzzsaw in his stomach. It's real cool. There's Godzilla vs. Megalon, which also introduces Jet Jaguar. And Gigan is back in that movie. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. And then, the last film of the Showa era, Terror of Mechagodzilla. So, if you want your Showa stuff, get this. Then, so these aren't necessarily in chronological order, because they kind of didn't really release them in chronological order. And so I own every Godzilla movie, but these are Blu-rays. I have them all on DVD, but these are just the Blu-ray versions that I upgraded to, and some of them are out of print. And so this is going to be a mix of like Heisei and newer Godzilla stuff for these. So this double feature is Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. So these are like, let's see if it tells me, 1993 for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2 and 1994 for Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. Awesome creature designs for both. These releases are also pretty cool because they have little icons that show you what monsters show up in the movies. So these are pretty cool. You can get these for like $15 on Amazon. Next up, there's Godzilla vs. Megaguirus and Godzilla vs. Destroya. And that would be vs. Destroya was 1995 and Megaguirus was 2000. So yet again, it's like, has the icons, all that stuff. There's Godzilla 2000, which came out in 1999. There's Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack, and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. So Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah came out in 2001, and then Godzilla against Mechagodzilla was 2002. Then there's Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Godzilla Final Wars. Oh, I forgot I didn't show the back of that one. And I also didn't show the back of this one. Yeah, all right. So, Godzilla Tokyo SOS and Godzilla Final Wars. Godzilla Final Wars has, like, almost all the kaiju in it. Like, there's a ton of monsters in there. So, some notable ones that I'm missing. There was a Godzilla Mothra movie from the 80s. There was Godzilla 1985, I believe. Um, there is Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I really, really like. I have all those on DVD. Don't have them on Blu-ray. I'm pretty sure they're out of print on Blu-ray. They go for a lot of money. So going with Godzilla mostly chronologically, right? We're kind of in the 2000s now. So I guess I should mention in 1998, America got a Godzilla movie called Godzilla with Matthew Broderick. Pretty sweet soundtrack. Not necessarily the sweetest movie. I have it on DVD. It's just in a binder somewhere, so I don't have it out. But anyway, so those all come out in Japan. We get the 1998 Godzilla. Japan continues to make Godzilla movies up to this day. Obviously, before Godzilla Minus One came out, there was this movie, which was honestly incredible, Shin Godzilla. So this came out in 2016, I believe. I'm not seeing the date on here, but I'm pretty sure this came out in 2016. It's directed by, I believe, the guy that made Neon Genesis Evangelion. I think he directed this as well. It's really cool. The cover's embossed. It's like 2 hours. Godzilla's back to being the villain. I loved this movie. It was really cool. Also has a lot to say about like bureaucracy and stuff. So pretty rad, right? And so as Japan was doing that, in 2014, America rebooted Godzilla again. So we had the 1998 one, and then now in 2014, we get Godzilla. And this has a pretty ridiculously star-studded cast, honestly. There's a bunch of random people in here. Well, maybe not ridiculously star-studded. I probably threw out a little bit of hyperbole right there. But Gareth Edwards directed it. I believe he also did a movie called Monsters that was very good. Aaron Taylor Johnson's in it. He was in Kick-Ass as Kick-Ass, and he was in Avengers Age of Ultron as Quicksilver, and he is in the upcoming Kraven movie that will probably not do well, and it's probably not good, but it'll be better than Morbius and Madam Web, I assume. Elizabeth Olsen's in this, Sally Hawkins is in it, Bryan Cranston is in it, Ken Watanabe's in it. I enjoyed this movie, but I will say, wish there was more Godzilla in it. Not a lot of Godzilla, which, bummer. So, after we did that spawned a movie multiverse, as we do now. So, then we got Kong Skull Island. And now I thought about grabbing my King Kong movies, because technically he's kind of a kaiju, he's a giant monster. I thought about it, I don't know. Kong doesn't really destroy things out of malice or anything, and he's not also like knocking over buildings or anything either. But this all ties into Godzilla. This movie was also pretty good. This one had kind of a crazier cast. I know Sam Jackson was in it. John Goodman, Brie Larson, John C. Reilly, what's his face? Tom Hiddleston. So, this was kind of a follow-up to the Godzilla movie. I think it was the after credits scene in this ended up tying them together. So then, after that, they made Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, this movie was kind of a direct answer to people's complaints about the 2014 Godzilla, in which there was not enough Godzilla. Because there's a lot of Godzilla in this. All of the monsters are in this quite a bit. There's King Ghidorah, Rodan's in it, Mothra's in it. Um, those are the main ones. I feel like there might have been some other cameos, but I don't quite remember. Um, there was human characters. They were fine. Millie Bobby Brown's in it. Vera Farmiga's in it. Oh man, Tywin Lannister. I don't remember his name, but he's in it. Charles Dance, maybe. Uh, don't really care about the human side of things, but the monsters were rad. There was a lot of cool fights. There was a lot of really cool monster visuals, which is what I want from a movie like this. Then, in what, like 2021, not 10 years ago, they made Godzilla vs. Kong. And hey, look, it's all tied together now. This was actually the first movie that I saw in theaters once kind of the lockdowns from COVID ended. So it was pretty cool to come back to theaters and just see a giant monster action movie. And the action was great. Human characters, yet again, didn't care so much. Honestly, out of all these movies, the only human characters that I've really particularly cared for were the ones in the original Godzilla movie. That was pretty good. And then the humans in Godzilla -1. That was awesome. Like that, man, I'm so excited for -1 to come out on Blu-ray or 4K because I just want to watch that movie again. I saw it in theaters. Can't recommend it enough. I'm very excited to go see the new Godzilla movie. Maybe this weekend, maybe next weekend. Who knows? So that's that side of kaiju, right? That's kind of the side everybody knows. Godzilla. Kaiju. Boom. Everybody knows Godzilla. These are going to be some more lesser known, lower budget, whatever, kaiju movies, right? So we got Kaiju Mono. If you're a fan of pro wrestling, and I am, this movie's great because it has some really good wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, I guess one of them is in AEW now. But yeah, this movie was just like kind of a horror, or not horror, more of like a action comedy. And it has Minoru Suzuki in it, who is a terrifying wrestler. He just looks like he's going to kick the crap out of everybody. He's in it. And also Kota Ibushi is in it. That guy. He wrestled in a tag team with Kenny Omega for a long time. This isn't a wrestling video. The point is, if you like pro wrestling, you will probably like this because you get to see pro wrestlers fight big, goofy, funny monsters. So, it's good. Highly recommend it. Then, we got Death Kappa. Yeah, it's just a giant kappa, which, if you don't know, is like a weird turtle goblin from Japanese folklore. So, he shows up, attacks a city, hilarity ensues. Then kind of going back, right, there's another series of movies called Daimajin, which are basically movies where the kaiju is a giant rad statue. And these tend to take place in feudal Japan. So there's 3 movies. There's Daimajin, or Daimajin, not 100% sure. Then the second is Return of Daimajin. And then the third movie is Wrath of Daimajin. And super awesome. This set I got from Arrow Video. I got it 50% off, so I think I paid $50 for it. They do sales, though, pretty often, so if you don't want to spend a ton on this, literally think there's an Arrow sale right now where you can get this for cheap. So keep that in mind. The other ones, I don't think I spent much on any of these other movies that I've talked about so far. Uh, I know for a while on Max, a lot of these Godzilla movies were streaming. I think all the newer ones are on Max. I just don't know about the Heisei Millennium Era Godzilla stuff. That's a little bit trickier to find. But the Showa stuff was definitely on Max for a long time. And it's on the Criterion channel because they put out that big box set. Um, but yeah, and then Death Kappa, that's not on it streaming anywhere. Neither is Kaiju Mono. Um, Daimogen would be on the Arrow app, which is $5 a month. I have it. It's pretty good. It's a lot like Shutter, but Arrow. So you get a lot more like action. You get more weird variety, whereas Shutter is just all horror. So then another more recent movie, very goofy. It's not horror really. This is a movie called Big Man Japan. So this is about a man. He gets real big, and he fights monsters in Japan. It's funny. I enjoy it. It's great. Highly recommend it. There's a lot of movies that are kind of in this vein. There's like Calamari Wrestler. I think there's there's one about like a crab that's a goalie. But yeah, goofy, weird movies. Thoroughly enjoy them. But I also figure I would include this because I think it counts as kaiju. I think. And that would be Ultraman. So I actually own a fair chunk of Ultraman, right? But I feel like I should maybe just do an Ultraman, like maybe like a video just on Japanese shows, right? So I might save talking about Ultraman for that because I can talk about Ultraman and Kamen Rider and Super Sentai in its own thing. But this guy, he's an alien. He's real big. He fights giant monsters. Feels like it's kaiju to me. So, honorable mention, Ultraman. And these are like pretty fancy steelbooks, and they're all very cheap on Amazon. And I believe all of Ultraman is streaming for free on Tubi. Because they have a huge selection of stuff like this. I think they have all of Ultraman, they have some Kamen Rider, and some Super Sentai. So if you are interested in any of this, you can check it out for free. So, next up is horror. And some of it's kind of a mishmash of stuff. And some of this I've separated and kind of kept directors together. I don't know. Speaking of directors, that's another video I want to make. I want to do a whole video just on this one particular director out of Japan called Takashi Miike. He's directed a whole bunch of stuff. I will talk about some of the things he's directed in here. Like I said, I was literally going to do a movie or a video of all of my Japanese stuff, and I would have talked for like 3 hours. So, breaking it up. So, first up, we got two movies, Meatball Machine and its sequel, Meatball Machine Hadoken. These are like pretty insane horror sci-fi movies with just crazy effects. And I kind of think that's sort of a theme. A lot of Japanese horror movies and just gore movies have like crazy effects. So, that's pretty fun. Then we have a personal favorite of mine. This movie rules. Wild Zero. So this is a zombie movie following a band called Guitar Wolf. They are a real band. They make rad music. This movie is insane. Came out in the early 2000s, I think. Yeah, it came out 2000. There's literally a special feature on the DVD that is a drinking game. And like little beer glass shows up in the corner of the screen anytime you're supposed to take a drink. And I forgot all of the criteria, but there's like 5 or 6 things that happen, and they happen a lot. So you're gonna be drinking quite a bit if you decide to do that when you watch this movie. It's just a wild, over the top zombie movie. It's great, and it has a kick-ass soundtrack. Then here's one that I just picked up. I haven't seen it, so could be good, could be bad. I don't know. I got it because of kind of just the title and then the back. So this is a movie called Organ. It seems like it's kind of extreme horror. I don't know what's going on. Nothing good. So, Organ. Could be good, could be bad. Maybe I'll do a follow-up. Actually, I will. If I watch it, I'll talk about it in a when I watch that month video. So then, these next two, these are actually bootlegs because I don't know if these ever got like a real release in the US, and if they did, I'm sure that's long out of print or very expensive. And so I got these as bootleg copies. And these are the Guinea Pig series. So I have Guinea Pig, Flower of Flesh and Blood, which is a very famous extreme horror movie. There's not really a plot. It's just a dude ties somebody to a bed and cuts them up with a samurai sword. That's the movie. I don't even know if it's an hour long. Oh yeah, it's 89 minutes. Wild. This movie's kind of famous because Charlie Sheen saw it and thought he was watching a snuff film, so he reported it to the FBI, allegedly. If you want to just see some gore, there's a movie for it. Then, the other guinea pig movie I have is Mermaid in a Manhole and He Never Dies. I've not actually watched He Never Dies, but I did watch Mermaid in a Manhole, and that was also pretty gross. It's just more extreme gore stuff. So, it's some people's cup of tea. I like it. Not for everybody. Totally understand. So these next few, these are all directed by the same person. And they're all just super ridiculous horror comedies, kinda. Most of them are horror comedies. This one is just kind of like nuts, right? So this is Tokyo Gore Police. It's crazy. There's just a lot of insane imagery, and it's very fun. And I recommend it. You'll see some crazy stuff, right? So, if you like Tokyo Gore Police, but you're like, you know what, maybe I want something a little funnier. Well, there's Dead Sushi. This is about sushi that decides to start eating people. And, crazy stuff happens. That's it. But you're like, okay, not into sushi, not into Tokyo Gore Police. Well, maybe you're into Robo Geisha. You might be. You might like this. Who knows? Apparently, it's an orgy of WTF. So that's fun. But hey, maybe Robo Geisha is not your thing. Maybe you want something more team-based, right? You want an Avengers level movie. Well, this isn't that. But there is a team, and that is Ghost Squad. These people are all dead. They're ghosts. And they want to take revenge. And it's pretty funny. I liked Ghost Squad. All right. So next up is a live action adaptation of a manga that is also getting an anime this year, maybe. It's pretty famous. You've probably heard of it. Uzumaki. Based on a manga by Junji Ito. It's nuts. It's kind of Lovecraftian. Basically, spirals start showing up everywhere in a town, and people start getting obsessed with spirals, and some crazy stuff happens. So, pretty good. So these next two I have not seen, but I saw the trailers and I was like, you know what? Those look pretty sweet. So I got them. And that is Mutant Girl Squad, another squad one. I think mutants just start showing up in Japan and they start fighting people and they want to take over Japan. Then there's Hell Driver, which is a zombie movie that kind of reminds me of Doomsday a little bit as well. And yeah, so haven't seen these. They seem fun. I like insane over the top stuff. All right. Ugh. Getting the rest of the stack up here. So, all right. Next up has been this is a movie that has been described as the Japanese Evil Dead. And in my opinion, it probably has one of the best titles to a movie I've ever heard. And that is Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell. It's got a rad cover. I mean, this cover is awesome. But if you like the slipcover, the regular cover, also very good. The dude that made this spent like a lot of time making it. I think it took him like 10 years to make it. And I think he did the effects. It's just, it's real fun. I think, yeah, he originally started making it in 1995, and I don't know when it actually came out. But there's like stop motion, there's fun effects, like it's a blast, and it's only 62 minutes. So like, not really a commitment, right? You can blast through this movie and have a good time. Watch some fun Evil Dead knockoffs. I like doing it. So, next two movies are from a director named Takashi Miike. Mentioned him earlier in the video. He is insanely prolific. I think he started making movies in the 90s, and he's already made over 100 movies, which, like, I can't wrap my brain around. Like, he literally is putting out like 2 movies a year. The dude is basically the Stephen King of directors. And his stuff is like just, he can make horror, he can make crime, he can make, he has like a variety of genres that he hits. And everything I've seen from him, I've thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, yeah, he's just a cool director. So first up, there's Imprint. And so there was an anthology show called Masters of Horror, which I will talk about later. Like that series I'll talk about later. But basically each episode was like a movie, like an hour-long movie, each directed by a different person. And so this was an episode called Imprint. And it takes place in like the 1800s, or yeah, I think 1800s, and it's just really gnarly. So yeah, directed by Takashi Miike. But when it comes to his horror work, this is the movie that he is most famous for, and that is Audition. If you have not seen Audition, I don't really want to say too much because I feel like if you go into it blind, you're going to have kind of a better time. But I mean, I'm talking about it in a horror video, so you know there's horror in it, but it's really good and like very disturbing. So, audition, thumbs up. I've seen it a few times. It's great. So this is a body horror movie. It's actually a couple of them. This is a double feature, but it is Tetsuo the Iron Man and the second Tetsuo movie. Uh, Arrow Video released a set of like a bunch of this guy's movies, but basically Tetsuo is about a guy who just starts turning into metal, and you know, bad things happen. And so yeah, it's just really crazy, like fast-paced, frantic kind of storytelling. It's really cool. I haven't seen the second one, but Tetsuo is very good. I highly recommend it. Same director also did a movie called Hiroku the Goblin, which I've not seen yet, but I mean, look at that cover. That's a head with spider legs. I'm on board. And like the back looks very fun. Look at that. I don't know what's happening there. It's fun. I know there's heads with spider legs in it. Into it. Like it. Excited to check it out. So then, these are some older, well, 4 of them are older, Japanese movies. I've already spoken about these in my Criterion videos. So I'm just going to be really brief. This is a movie from 1965 called Kaiju. It is a couple of stories. It's like an anthology movie. It's an hour and 183 minutes, so 3 hours. So you know, gotta be ready. But it's very cool. Also, the Criterion release, I believe. Oh, it doesn't. Okay. I thought it had a commentary or something by Guillermo del Toro, but I think he just talks about this movie. Oh, excuse me. As being one that he really, really likes. So keep that in mind. Then from 1964, we got Onibaba, another good one. Then from 1960, there's Jigoku, which is like a kind of one of the first splatter movies, which is pretty sweet. From 1968, there's Kuroneko, which is a ghost movie. Too much glare. And then from 1997, this is more of a thriller, but it's Cure. So definitely recommend all of those. And then the final thing I'm going to talk about, it's kind of just a bonus, right? A little gimme. Because you know what? This is real life horror. And that is my bootleg copy of IWA Japan King of the Deathmatch 1995. It's my boy, Mick Foley. It's a pro wrestling compilation. And you know what? It's got Terry Funk. It's got Mick Foley. It's got a guy dressed up as Leatherface. So if you want to see actual human bodily harm, IWA King of the Deathmatch 1995. You could probably find bootlegs of this. That's what I did. It's great. Japanese wrestling rules. It's very good. Yet again, though, not going to talk too much about pro wrestling. But at some point, I'm going to talk a lot about pro wrestling. So that's it. I managed to cut this down to like a 40-minute video instead of however long it would be if I talked about all of my stuff. So, yeah, that's it. There's a ton of awesome movies out there. Like, tons of awesome movies. So, I highly recommend just diving into any of it. Godzilla, great place to start. I mean, culturally, it's really important. And even though it's a movie from 1954, it doesn't really feel like it is, right? Like, it's still a very important movie. And I think the effects and stuff hold up pretty well. But I'm also a sucker for, you know, giant monsters destroying model cities. So if you like that, check it out. Um, Other than that, I don't know, man. Uh, I just think that film in general is a very fun thing. And I like showing what other countries put out, because, like, obviously there's a whole lot of stuff in America. But, like, it's cool to watch horror movies and things from other countries because you kind of get to see, like, how their culture views certain things. And it's just really cool, right? You know? Wow. I didn't even talk about The Ring, or Ringu, as it's known, or The Grudge, aka Ju-on. Like, those are kind of important. Those are big ones. Ringu especially, and I have those. I literally like looked at those. I think when I was grabbing movies for this. This is what I get, man. This is what I get for making a YouTube video, like starting it at like 2 in the morning, um, after a crazy week. Uh, Good times. I'm not losing my mind. I'm great. But yeah, I mean, I will definitely come back to this topic and cover like crime movies or samurai movies or whatever, Yakuza movies. Next up, though, I think it's going to be my what I watched in March. And then after that, I'm going to do a video talking about anthologies. And so it's not just going to be anthology movies. I'm going to talk about shows, right? So I'm going to talk about like Twilight Zone, Tales from the Dark Side, whatever. And I think that's going to be really fun because I love a good anthology. And yeah, that's that. Hope everybody's doing okay. It seems like it's been a tough week for a lot of people. So if that's the case for you, keep your head up. Things are going to be all right. Just keep going, man, woman, person, whatever you identify as. It's all good because, life's crazy. Things suck sometimes, but, what can you do? There's ups and downs. So, I don't know. Just keep on trucking. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. I'm gonna upload this and go to sleep. It's gonna be great. I'm very excited. So yeah, expect another video in like 2 days because it's March 30th now because it's after midnight. My God. I also didn't watch a whole lot of stuff in March. Maybe I'll, you know what? Tomorrow and Sunday, I'm going to crank out a whole bunch of movies. I'm going to watch like 20 things just for content for that one video. Because I think as of right now, I've only watched like 9 movies the entire month. So, pretty nuts. And like a bunch of those were theatrical releases or streaming, so I don't even own them. Oh, God. Okay. Bye, everybody. You're all awesome. Thank you for watching this. And yeah, just be good to each other. Be good to yourself.